Hey, welcome to Motherhood Equipped, where faith, wellness, ambition, and birth all come together to equip moms to lead with courage and unshakable purpose. I'm Brigitta. I'm so grateful you're here, and I'm committed to learning out loud and living my motherhood journey on purpose right alongside you. So let's link arms and step into all the potential that you already have.
Okay, welcome to the podcast, Leah. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, are you kidding? So a little background for everybody. Leah Brueggemann is a wife, a mom. She is a functional hormone practitioner and host of the Balancing Women's Hormone podcast. She's also one of my closest friends, but on her podcast, and with her business, she does some pretty incredible things. She is really gifted in equipping women to understand and heal their hormones through simple, sustainable habits. And I will tell you just a little bit of a funny, I cannot tell you how many times I've gone to my husband, Drew, and said, Drew, I'm going to do this new thing, and insert whatever wellness habit or hack for sometimes also for my boys. And then he'll say, why? And I'll say, because Leah told me. And I know it's going to work to this day. And we've been friends for many, many years. To this day, Leah has never, ever led me astray. And in fact, her advice is almost always 100% spot on. So I trust her with my life. I'm so grateful to have her on here. I know she's going to give you a lot of really great wellness and mom and whatever we talk about, nuggets, just things that are really applicable and helpful. So Leah, thank you for your time. I know it's hard to come by.
Of course. I have known you for a while. I met you when I was pregnant with Landon.
Long time.
So he turned 6 in January. So
Yeah.
I've literally known you for over 6 years. It's crazy.
I know. It is wild. And now you've got 3 beautiful babies. I'm sure I know that I missed a lot of different things. Are there anything?
I think that the biggest difference in what me and my team are able to do for women is combine a lot of different aspects that maybe you would have to go to other areas. So as I have grown as a mom and in the health space myself, I've come across things where I go, this is so important. My clients need that. So I either add somebody to my team who can do that and go and figure it out. And so we do the lifestyle, we do the nutrition, and we have the functional lab testing, and we do a lot of nervous system because you can't have balanced hormones. You can't have balanced habits without our mindset and our nervous system there. And that I think is a really big component of maybe somebody who goes, I know I should do this. I understand why, but it just isn't sticking. That's where the brain rewiring and the nervous system plays a really big role.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, so actually on that topic a little bit, most of my questions for you are geared towards the wellness part.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, because I have always admired how you balance such a big consuming both time and like bandwidth consuming business
Yeah.
and raising kids at home that are really busy. So how do you stay anchored and avoid burnout while doing those two things simultaneously?
I have hit burnout a few times. I'm going to be completely honest. And from that, I've learned a lot. You have to have somebody in your corner. So I always have a coach at some capacity, whether that's somebody like currently, I actually have 2 coaches. One that is specifically on doing the do is like the best word I can think about it. It's kind of like there is no BS. Just figure it out, get it done, get out of your comfort zone. That is the best way to like take action. And then I always work with somebody on nervous system and neuroplasticity and how we can really use our mind effectively. So that is the best, because every single time I've taken a break from coaching, my poor husband gets dumped on. And I'm just like, I have to talk this through with somebody. I have to tell somebody what's going on. And he is always there for me in that capacity, but I want him to be my husband and not like my husband and my executive assistant and my coach and my like brain dump all in the same time. So that has probably been the most useful, because you have to have somebody in that corner to hold all of the thoughts, and otherwise you just internalize too much of that. And I'm so intentional with my time, and I'm so intentional where I put my time. And it's crazy how much you can actually duplicate yourself if you put time into training somebody for that, and then put your time towards something maybe you can't duplicate. So I've gotten very hyper specific on that. And I can't duplicate me as a mom. Like that's impossible. So what I have been able to duplicate is coaches and my systems and my methodology. And so I actually feel like I have a lot more people and help on the business side than maybe a lot of business owners do, because my intentionality is with my kids and my family. And then I want my intentionality in my business to be like, how can I solve like the individual client who like needs a little bit more focus or needs a little bit more tweaks. So I think that's the biggest thing. I deleted email off of my phone. I turn my phone on do not disturb at 4 p.m. Like when Landon's coming home from school, I turn on D&D and team can't get a hold of me, Slack can't get a hold of me. Those are all like very ways where my brain can like set a time zone of like, you are done with this. This doesn't happen in this current season because breastfeeding baby and I don't have nap times during the day, but my goal is always airplane mode off all work things by 9 p.m. Unfortunately, right now, that 8 to 10 p.m. window is when I do get a lot of work done currently. But after that, my phone goes on airplane mode and it doesn't come off of airplane mode until like 8 or 9 the next morning.
That's so good.
So if anybody needs something like from my family, they have my husband's number, they can get a hold of him. But I do that because it's kind of like closing a tab in your brain, because when you own your own business, your brain is never done. You know, you're always thinking of, I literally will have dreams about clients sometimes. I'm like, my gosh, we need to test this, blah, blah, blah. This is what's going on. And so to help close that loop, I have to make it so my phone is just, it's not accessible. Work is not accessible. And so D&D really works for that. Airplane mode works for that. Getting email off my phone works for that. So I have to go to my computer for all of those things. But yeah, those are the two biggest ways I guess I really help that. I do get a babysitter twice a week. She comes twice a week for 5 hours. And that's when I do things like this. And it's very intentional, focused work time. So whenever I'm doing something, I try and make it as an intentional and as focused. And my team knows, like they'll send me messages and I'll be like, received, we'll answer tonight when the boys are in bed or whatever. So that's what I try and do with that.
I love that. Yeah, because if you don't put up those boundaries, then I think you can fall into this trap of like just constantly being distracted. Then you get to the end of the day and you're like, well, I didn't fill any of my buckets. I don't feel like I filled the kids bucket or the business bucket or anything, because you're just sort of spinning. So I really like those boundaries that you've put on your time to allow for the intentionality. Okay, let's dive into hormones. I'm really excited about all these questions. I wrote so many questions for you that I had to like delete some.
This is after the deletion.
Yes, no, this is like, I am so pumped. So first, I want you to address common misconceptions that you see. I know there are a lot, but try and narrow it down. That'll be hard. But what are some common misconceptions you see among women when it comes to hormone balancing, like quick fixes and do this and overnight you're going to be perfect? Misconceptions you see and what people should focus on instead.
So I would say the biggest misconception is that your hormones are the problem. And that's where a lot of supplements get sold, like hormone balancing supplements. It'll be like there's companies are just so smart about it. Like, you need this, you need that. Hormones aren't the issue. If hormones were the issue, then it would be so easy to fix, because that's where, hormone replacement therapy, can have a time and a place, but it would be much easier. Taking a hormone balancing supplement would be so much easier. But where we're going wrong is we're not realizing all of the things that impact hormones, right? So hormones are very far downstream. So when hormones are off, let's say your estrogen's too high or your progesterone's too low, it's not standing alone. So hormones are little chemical messengers and they communicate and they're always talking to each other. And so when these little messengers are off, you have to go up to the things that are sending the messages and look there. And so what happens is that when we look at the hormones, we're looking at something. If I could give you a better example, it would be like you have a house and your foundation is on sand and you keep trying to change the sand, but you actually just need to change the foundation. And that's where I feel like when people keep trying to manipulate the hormones, like, let me just go on progesterone supplementation, let me go on DIM, let me go on evening primrose, they're not ever making a dent and they're not seeing a difference. So where I would recommend is first, like, let's take a bigger picture into everything that impacts hormones, because there's never going to be one thing. And that is not meant to be overwhelming and I have to change 25 things today. You get to pick one, master it, and add on the next. But they don't live in isolation. So you have to come upstream. So let's think like stress, cortisol patterns are big ones that impact hormones, because guess what? Cortisol is a hormone, and cortisol and progesterone are made from the same compound, pregnenolone. So you have to go, okay, this is how stress is impacting my progesterone levels. Let's think about stomach acid and nutrients we're pulling from our food. If we don't have great stomach acid, we're constantly eating on the go. We're not getting enough nutrient dense food. We're not pulling enough nutrients from our food. Now we're depleted. What are we making hormones from? Maybe we are super nauseous when we're pregnant and we aren't able to get enough stores. So then we head into breastfeeding and postpartum, and we're already heading into it depleted. And then you're up all night with your kids. And there's all of these building blocks that are impacting our hormones, but we think that hormones are the problem. Hormones are just telling you that there is a problem, but you're going to get more success going back to the things that impact them. So I found this really hard to pick one, but if we're going to pick one thing to start with, I tell everyone, this goes on my gravesite, you have to start with blood sugar. Because if you can master blood sugar balance, you're going to be helping inflammation, you're going to be helping your stress levels, you're going to be helping your overall cortisol levels. And then on top of that, you're going to be helping your insulin levels. Okay, so you've already hit some really big key markers that impact your sex hormones. Because a lot of times when we go hormone imbalance, you guys aren't thinking like oxytocin and cortisol. You're thinking estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. So you just hit some big cornerstones that impact the sex hormones. So I would start with blood sugar balance, because this is free. Like, I mean, balancing your blood sugar isn't something you go out and buy. It's not a supplement. It's just rearranging your plate. It's not
Can you
no
explain
carbs.
it real quick?
Yeah. So I don't
If
know if you
somebody
guys
literally
have
has
video.
no idea what balancing blood sugar is, what does that mean?
So I want you to imagine my book here is a plate, okay? And this doesn't mean you can't have soups or like shepherd's pie, but just to get the point across of food values, you want to aim for half your plate being non-starchy veggies, a quarter protein, and a quarter fat and carb. I said carb. I just want to say that again. I said carb. Because when people think of blood sugar balance, you may think flatlining your glucose curve. So you never are having a spike. And that's not what I want. Okay. You need carbs. You need the glucose for the conversion of T4 to T3, which is inactive to active thyroid hormone. You need carbs to ovulate. You actually use carbs for energy, all of these good things. But what I want to get rid of is these sharp spikes that you're getting throughout the day. Maybe you're drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Maybe you're grabbing, your kids' leftover peanut butter and jelly sandwich as you run out the door. Maybe you had avocado toast for breakfast. I feel like I'm giving like obnoxious extremes. Like this may not be exactly what you do, but this is just a blood sugar roller coaster. Even grabbing like an apple by itself or a banana by itself, we're getting these bigger spikes. And so what we want is more rolling hills. So yes, we're going to have glucose come up, but it's how fast is it coming up and how long is it staying up? So a lot of women, for example, because I know we're going to be talking more about pregnancy, you are more insulin resistant when you're pregnant. It is a natural thing that happens. Thank you, placenta. So when you're pregnant, you're like, I need bagels. Okay. So when we can understand maybe that is why, and we can start to backtrack the mechanism. So it's like, okay, this is why I'm having this craving. This is why this is going on. This is why I'm more tired. We can help to support the body a little bit more. So if we can start with plating our food like that to manually be balancing your blood sugar, never eat a naked carb. So if I want a piece of fruit, I have a piece of fruit. I pair it with a meat stick, or I pair it with a hard-boiled egg, or I pair it with some nuts. For breakfast, one of my go-tos is I love eggs, but eggs you can put peppers in. That's a great one. Great in vitamin C, great antioxidant, great in fiber. You can do onions, you can do spinach. If you like mushrooms, you can do mushrooms. And then I will typically also do it like a meat to get more protein. You can do chicken sausage. You can just do plain boring chicken. Some people will do cottage cheese. You can, but I'm aiming for that 30 grams of protein, and I'm also aiming for lots of fiber, and then I will add carb. So the world's your oyster. One of my favorites for a lot of people is fruit, because you can get berries, which again are high in fiber, but a low glycemic fruit. I would say that that's one of my go-to breakfasts. I don't even have to think about it. I just make it, run, go, keeps you satiated. And because I have tested this with glucose monitoring and lots of clients, you get this nice, stable, like gentle rise, gives you energy, but it's not like sharply spiking, which then is over time what happens if you keep spiking so sharply.
Yeah.
You head into metabolic chaos, and you will start getting things like reactive hypoglycemia, which is where after you spike your blood sugar, when you start to get hungry again, you get shaky and you get hangry and you're like, I need to eat right now. Reactive hypoglycemia. Now your blood sugar is too low. And this happens over time. And we also will see changes in insulin. Fasting insulin starts creeping up years before you would see a difference in your fasting glucose or A1C. I will just speak from a personal place. So I like to see fasting insulin below 5. And with both of my all 3 of my pregnancies, actually, I might prove myself a liar because I don't actually remember how much I gained this last pregnancy. But with both of my first 2 pregnancies, I gained around 40 pounds, ate really healthy, lifted weights, did all of the things, never had an issue. And I was exposed to mold after my second pregnancy. And I did a full blood panel at that time, which I hadn't tested fasting insulin before this. So again, I don't have a marker change for you. So I don't know if it was the mold. I don't know if it just always existed there, but my fasting insulin was like 7.83. Not that high, but like not ideal. I was like, how can I get my fasting insulin down? Let's focus on this. And I did. I got it down. And my last pregnancy that I just had, what I thought was really interesting is my blood sugar was like super uber stable the entire pregnancy. I remember when I did my glucose test, my doctor was even just like, how'd you do that? Like, because you have like 75 grams I did the fresh test of sugar, and my blood sugar stayed stable. I didn't get any lightheadedness or anything after doing that. And this pregnancy was the fastest I ever lost the baby weight. And I was like, I wonder, all I can do is hypothesis because, I didn't, do any studies on myself. But like,
right.
I wonder if there was a correlation because I've had 3 boys. It's not like it was a gender difference. Pretty much gained, I feel like, similar amount of weight with all of them. I kind of just stopped weighing with my third one. But I lost it so much faster. I remember like month 6, month 5, I was fitting into like all my pre-pregnancy clothes. And I was like, this is weird. Never had this happen before. And so I don't know, but I do know that blood sugar balance is the cornerstone to all things.
Yes. You taught me that many years ago. I would literally be making a plate of food and I would hear Leah in my head say protein, fat, carb.
Yes.
But it's sometimes a big pill for people to swallow. I think that there's been a lot of marketing around no carb, which it was a hard thing for me to overcome. But I echo everything you've said. And I think even just for like, it's a little bit of a delayed gratification approach to energy because what you want when you're super tired, it's like, oh, I just want that cup of coffee. But if you can just hang on and you can do this protein, fat, carb, just like balanced blood sugar approach to your day, you just like wait 2 more seconds and you're going to feel so much better. Like so much better. I really leaned on this postpartum. Leah knows a lot about how difficult sleep has been for us with my second, who just is the best, but he is up all night. And I just remember having so many moments of gratitude, like, wow, I am so thankful that even after such little sleep, I actually feel pretty okay. And I think that a lot of it had to do with just easy habits, easy free habits of balancing your blood sugar, focusing on nutrient intake. I am just like, so if you take nothing away from this whole conversation, let's balance your blood sugar.
Yeah.
It's a little more simple than it sounds. Might just take a little bit of practice. But you started talking a little bit about just like going into postpartum and how your hormones shift. And I would love, like, if you were across a coffee shop table with a brand new mom and she's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen after birth? Because I've heard that hormones go wild and like everything's depleted, whatever. What is a gentle starter protocol you can give her? What are some habits or things to support in those first little weeks after birth that make a huge difference right out of the gate?
So I think there's a lot of things that make a huge difference. So I'm gonna just give you some, and
Go for
then
it.
people can pick what aligns with them the most. So I think that the fourth trimester is a very vulnerable state because we tend to think, I had the baby. I'm done taking care of me. And that is very much not true. So let's just think for a second. Like, you have a wound inside of you that is the size of a paper plate, which that's big. You lost a lot of blood. You are now breastfeeding, which actually pulls more nutrients than pregnancy. And
Wild.
you're up all night, which, I mean, for some people, they're up all night peeing. I've never had that experience, and I hope I never have that experience. But I have heard that it's a thing. But my babies, like yours, have never been the greatest sleepers. So I'm up all night. When you're up all night, your cortisol levels are a little bit higher. You're probably having more cravings. You also have that deep breastfeeding hunger because all of a sudden you're burning more calories. And so it's just like, feed me. So some things that you really want to think about. You are having a massive drop in hormones. That's okay. That's normal. It's okay. So I would bring in liver support. Okay. Liver's got to do a lot of work for you here. And that's awesome and it's great. But I would bring in bitters. So bitters are going to double as supporting your stomach acid. So like literally think supporting the fire in your belly so you can digest and absorb all of the nutrients that you're getting from your food. But bitters, a lot of them double as a liver support as well. So I would bring in some bitters before your meals so that you can get in the best nutrient pull that you can from your food would be number one. Number two, I would be like loving your adrenals till the end of time. Like there are multiple times when adrenals are going to take a really big hit. Pregnancy is one, postpartum is one, like menopause is one, any type of big event like that. It is very hard on the adrenals. So I would be thinking of how I can support them. So if you think about the 3 minerals, 2 minerals, 1 vitamin, I guess, vitamin C, potassium, and sodium are what your adrenals need to function. So that's where the popular adrenal cocktail came in, where it's orange juice, etc. I don't really recommend that to people because I find that people are like, yay, orange juice, and they drink like half a cup of orange juice. I typically recommend something like coconut water with lemon juice. You can put some Celtic sea salt in there, and you're covering your bases for some potassium, some sodium, and some vitamin C. That's a great one. I love teas because, again, they're warm. You can make them in bulk, but these are going to be very nutrient dense, and they're going to be high in potassium. They're going to be high in minerals, which are what you need. I hate most teas. I am becoming a tea person. I think it's important, my words that I say about myself. So I'm like, I'm becoming a tea person. We're still working on it. But I will make infusions. Like I'll do nettle, oat straw, alfalfa. Those are great teas to be drinking during this time. They're really high in minerals. It's going to be warming. I focus on warming foods. If you go back to Chinese medicine, you want easy to digest, warming foods during this time. Literally, if you think about it, like your organs are going to be rearranging themselves. So,
Crazy.
like, let's just give our digestion some space. So, for example, something that I did because it was quick and easy is I would do Greek yogurt and I would take apples and, well, I didn't, my husband did, would chop them up. We would get organic apples so we could leave the peel on because we're going for fiber here. And I would saute them in a pan with some grass-fed butter. And then I would add cinnamon in vanilla. And then you can even add some seeds if you want a little bit more fiber. I was easy on the seeds though, because they're harder to digest. And I'm going for easy to digest in this time. And I would mix that together. And it's so good for your gut. Okay. You're getting some great fiber sources in there. You're getting some soluble fiber sources, and it's warm. You get the cinnamon, the spice, and you're getting some protein. It's easy to grab and go. It tastes delicious. That was one of my go-to snacks that I would have postpartum. And before, I would just not warm the apples up. But like when I was postpartum, I was aiming and looking for easy to digest warming.
Right.
And so that's what I would focus on. So like little things like that, like make a really big difference. Focusing on like more stews and soups and things like that are great because they're easy to digest. Making sure you're getting in enough fluids, making sure you're getting the mineral rich, like the teas and all of that, and
Right.
supporting the adrenals. And eat more protein. You need about 25 more grams of protein while you're breastfeeding. So it's a
Good to
lot of
know.
protein.
You know what this makes me think of though is just like this mention of like easy to digest, warming foods. It makes me think of how like in so many parts of the world, like your postpartum time is like there is this bubble around you while you're
Yeah.
healing, while you're recovering, you're learning how to be a mom maybe for the first time. And that's what that makes me think of with that language of warming and easy to digest. Whereas here, I think that's something that a lot of new moms have to really wrestle with and like force themselves to be allowed to heal, to be allowed to go at a slower pace, to be allowed to ask their husband, can you please cook the apples because I need something more easy to digest? Because here it's like, all right, like up and at 'em, like let's go. And that's just very much our culture. So I really just want to emphasize that because that's something that you've helped me do a lot. And boy, I was so not good at it the first time. I'm still working. Like, Lord willing, if I have a third baby, like maybe I'll finally get it by then. But it's hard. It's really hard to slow down and allow your body to ask for what it needs, really.
And
I think.
ask for that help.
Yeah.
It is tricky because you kind of want to go, I can do it, I've got it. But you do. I know you've got it, but should you? Is the best thing for you? Maybe not.
Right. Yeah. Really hard. Okay, like continuing with this postpartum season, I know you talk a lot about HTMA testing, so that's hair mineral analysis testing. Or maybe I got that backwards, but when you talk about how pregnancy and then breastfeeding, all of this depletes the minerals in your body, can you sort of explain to us, maybe in like a little bit of a dummies version,
Yeah.
like what minerals are most critical? And how have you then seen mineral optimization affect postpartum recovery and hormone health?
So there are a few different mineral patterns that will happen. And honestly, it's different. Like, sometimes pregnancy is so traumatic that I will see a very different pattern than somebody else that didn't have a traumatic pregnancy. So it's something to keep in mind that just because you feel a certain way doesn't necessarily mean your pattern would show that, because there is a lot to do actually with trauma and how the body protects itself. Calcium is one of those. So calcium is a numbing mineral. So what I will see sometimes if someone has a very traumatic labor or traumatic pregnancy, we will see the body push out calcium into the tissues as a protection mechanism. It's a
Whoa.
numbing mineral. So you can really see just wildly different patterns. So I think that we kind of maybe have a misnomer that minerals are electrolytes. And so postpartum, I should just take electrolytes and I'm supporting my minerals. I will have people say that. They're like, oh, you talk about minerals. Look at, I'm taking electrolytes. I'm like, well, that's only 2 of your very important minerals. So you have 4 main minerals: calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. And they are your foundational minerals, but they also need their secondary and tertiary minerals for absorption. So if you are thinking about supplementing without testing, which I wouldn't recommend doing, I would be looking at whole food-based forms of getting these in so you can make sure you're getting in their cofactors. An example of this would be beef liver. So beef liver has copper and zinc, which go together in a food-based form. So that's a good way to get it in food-based. So typically what we'll see is we will see depleted minerals for the adrenals. So you'll see maybe sodium, potassium are going to be off a little bit. And I will see calcium go one of two ways. Either you'll see high tissue calcium due to some trauma, or you will see just depleted calcium across the board. So something that I think is really cool is I've had women not do hair tissue mineral analysis and then come do it for a later pregnancy and they didn't get cavities. So I think that's always cool to see because
Very cool.
you're getting enough nutrients where they need to go.
Very cool.
I also will see I know I can speak for myself before I didn't have mineral testing with my first kiddo. Much difference in terms of energy, like night and day. I mean, I
Wow.
can't even tell you. It's so different.
During the pregnancy or after or both?
Both.
Okay.
And especially though postpartum, when you're up all the time, I should be a lot tired than I was because I was getting in the replenishment that I needed. And that's like the biggest differences. The other one that I will actually see as well is sometimes if we don't have enough. So copper raises during pregnancy due to the placenta. And for some women, if they don't have enough balanced like zinc and protein and liver support, sometimes it doesn't come back down the way it should postpartum. And you will see heightened anxiety, heightened maybe dissociation. You even see postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, like ridiculously heavy periods postpartum because of copper. And so that is one
Wow.
of the biggest things that I do see that I think makes a really big difference if you can prepare for that in your pregnancy. And then again, early postpartum is making sure that you have the tools on board, especially for someone, for example, who maybe has a history of postpartum anxiety and depression. I'm not saying like this is the root cause of it all, but I'm saying it's something to look into because I do see it a lot. And when you can make sure you have the tools on board to make sure your body can get rid of that copper easily, bring it down easily, your liver is moving through because your adrenals also need to produce enough ceruloplasmin to transport copper. And remember how I said postpartum is a great way to like punch your adrenals? So sometimes it can set you up for a perfect storm if we aren't preparing well. And that can make a really big difference in postpartum anxiety.
Wow.
So definitely something to think about.
Well, yeah, that needs to be talked about more. Can you explain one other thing? Because I am wondering if maybe some people hearing you discuss the importance of liver support think,
Yeah.
oh, I should take liver capsules, but those are different things. Can you
Yeah.
explain just like liver support, all of that, the easy
Yeah.
little habits that go into that?
So liver support is actually maybe simpler than we think. It's not a juice cleanse. You just need the nutrients that your liver needs. Your liver has 2 phases of detox, and then you poop or pee the stuff out. It'll go through the kidneys or go through your bowels. So phase 1 of liver detox is like spraying the clothes with water so you can like get the dirt moving. And then phase 2 is where you use the soap and you scrub them. So phase 1 nutrients that you need are a lot of the things that we often hear about with liver support, like vitamin C, like lemon, vitamin E, glutathione, NAC, milk thistle, dandelion. So bitters, which you guys have heard me talk about, bitter foods, get the stomach acid, get the bile moving. And then phase 2, what you need for liver support is actually protein. So you have amino acids that bind to the toxins then. So you need both, which is why blood sugar balance, you should be getting in a wide variety already. So you're kind of good to go there. But your liver is what filters out toxins. It's what filters out used up excess hormones. And so we want to make sure we're giving it a lot of love and support. But it also filters out toxins. So something very simple that you can do for your liver is just like remove the overload. So if you
Right.
start removing endocrine disruptors, removing toxins from your life, like actually great support for your liver because now you're not, constantly dumping it full of stuff.
Right. So I think another way to say that is like you're talking about making non-toxic swaps. Not,
Yeah.
going crazy and obsessive,
Mhm.
but like making swaps with the type of candles and lotions and sprays and whatever. And actually, honestly, so much of it saves you money because like I was
Mhm.
talking to somebody recently and I was like, yeah, just like you don't even need dryer sheets. Like what purpose does that serve? Just stop
I
using them, right?
actually have no idea why people use dryer sheets. I never have.
Right. So there are so many things that we have I mean, car air fresheners, things that we can literally just remove. And then
Mhm.
you're lifting that huge weight off of the work that your liver has to do day in, day out. And then, like,
Yeah.
what might somebody feel from that? I mean, actually, that's too hard of a question because there's a lot
Mm.
of different things. I know that, yeah, it can clear out the excess hormones that you have, which is something you helped me with years ago. I did not have a optimally functioning detox system, and I
Yeah.
had extremely high estrogen because
Mhm.
of it. Um, and when you help me do just like the simplest things, it's
Mhm.
amazing how simple these things are. It might sound complicated when you're listening to it and it gets overwhelming. And I will definitely link like all of Leah's favorites in the show notes so that we can save that time sleuthing and finding things that work. But just by you helping me optimize my detox pathways, my estrogen numbers came down because my body was able to get rid of what it didn't need. And then
Mhm.
from there, my cycle symptoms got better and just like a whole slew of things. Do you think that that also plays into somebody's energy, how their detox pathways are working?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you're not going to notice benefits. I mean, maybe you'll notice better skin. Something I feel like is you you know how everyone talks about postpartum BO? I
No.
don't have that.
Where have I
Like,
been? I didn't know that.
oh yeah, they always talk about how like postpartum your body odor is so bad because of like all of the hormones that you're. Yeah, I don't have that.
I
Like,
don't think
I
I've
was always
experienced
just
that.
like, I don't have that issue. And I do think it's because of liver support, like, and
Wow.
making sure your drainage pathways are open because I mean, we shouldn't have like horrible smells. But yeah, that's totally a thing. People talk about how postpartum BO is like worse than any other BO.
Super interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's super interesting. Okay. Well, so you are a step ahead of me. You're a mom of three.
Mhm.
And I want to ask you if you could go back in between pregnancies or before any of them. What
Mhm.
is one thing you've learned now at this point in your mom journey about the postpartum shifts after you
Mhm.
have the baby that tends to get like underemphasized in standard care that like most people listening have never heard about, but you're like, I need to tell everybody?
I can only pick one.
You can, no, you
Um,
can pick a couple. It's fine.
so adrenals.
Okay.
I cannot tell you the amount of women I have who tell me they focus on adrenals, like, postpartum, and it's a completely different situation for them in
Hmm.
terms of, like, postpartum rage and sleep and energy, like, just love your adrenals, like, you
Okay.
just need to. They need so much support in this time, but, you know, with my last baby, I had a high-risk pregnancy, so I feel like I was heading which by the way, you can do everything right and you can still have a high risk pregnancy. Just to let people let go of any guilt or shame they have around that.
Mm.
Because in my case, I had a subchorionic hemorrhage, which turned into a hematoma, which they had no cause for. It was just like, we have no idea how this happened. We don't know why. And thankfully, I was healthy enough in all the other aspects that I was able to, the pregnancy, obviously, we have baby Roman. So everything worked out. But
It's a stressful time for sure.
it is. But I feel like also due to that, I approached postpartum maybe a little bit differently. And I didn't even like try putting him down for naps. I just baby wore him like all the time. I was, like, either nursing him or he was being worn in a baby carrier or in my arms or my husband's arms. For the first 12 weeks of his life, I never put him down for a nap.
Wow.
And I felt like with my first kid and even my second kid, it was like people were like, "You have to find a routine. You have to do this. You have to do blah, 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 blah." Like, I don't know. Like, you need to trust your mom intuition. And so I
Mm.
felt like with my other kids, those first 12 weeks, I was just fighting nap times. You know, it's like, why aren't you sleeping in your bassinet? Why is this not working? And I was so frustrated. And
Hmm.
so this time I prepped snacks. I prepped things that are great with one hand. I had a baby wrap that I loved, and I just was like, I will hold you for every single one of your naps, and it's fine. And I'm not worried about it. And I planned on it. So I wasn't even setting myself up for a fight because
Right.
there was going to be no fight. So that was a really big one that I think is important. I think you need to prep snacks. I think you need to have blood sugar friendly prepped snacks. I think you need to also just know that it's going to be okay. Honestly, like, with my first kid, they spit up and you just go, oh, they have a session where they don't latch as well and you just go, "Oh," like, what is wrong? Like, this is the thing, they're having nipple confusion because I gave them a pacifier one time, I think you have so many things in
Yeah.
your head that you just are losing your brain cells. So if you can prepare one thing for postpartum, it's just talk to moms that you want to emulate maybe the type of mom they are so
Mm,
that you know what it's like. Like, I
yeah.
literally talked to somebody before I even had my first kid and was like, walk me through labor, like down to what does transition feel like? Like, what is the
Right.
doctor going to say? And all the different things. I'm like, tell me everything. And I did that to multiple moms. I'm like, what happened in
Mm-hmm.
your birth? Because I wanted to know what I could prepare myself for. I think that that's important. And then have that person that
Super.
you can ask questions, because I also think it's important to have that person that you can have zero TMI and just be like, oh my gosh, I just passed a golf ball sized clot. Like, is this actually an issue or not? Or my baby isn't latching or whatever,
Yeah.
I think is important.
Yeah, that's such good advice. But I would also say that, like, social media influencers don't necessarily
Oh,
substitute.
yeah.
There are some great ones, but it is a big fat lie if we think we can learn everything about motherhood just from people we follow on Instagram. Like, I have had real conversations with people, i.e., calling Leah and saying, what is going on? And it really is. It's real mom to mom conversation to know how to navigate all those things, but then also trusting yourself at the end of the day and kind of deciphering, okay, what is best for this situation. And I think learning to trust that is really, really important. That's really good advice.
Yeah. Flex your mom intuition. You will get it,
Yeah.
and ask questions, and it does take a village. And I feel like not everybody has a village. So try and find some type of something
Yeah.
village that you can have, I know personally, like, I don't want to give away their identity, but I did have someone in my life who had a tougher postpartum. And I
Mm,
remember, like, I was like, I'm coming over and we're going to work through this. And,
mm.
literally, like, drink this, eat this, go to sleep. I'm holding the baby. Like, you know, and if you can, try and find some people who can do
That's
that for you.
beautiful. Yeah, that's really beautiful. We do need more of that. Leah, I have one more question that I probably should have asked before because it is a
Mhm.
hormone for dummies question. And then I want to get into some quick fire questions. But
Yeah.
can you just walk us through? Because I still feel like the word
Hmm.
hormones is like really scary to so many people. And a lot of women don't even know what happens during their cycle. So
Hmm.
can you sort of help us zoom out so that we can take all of these little nuggets of advice and little hacks and habits and apply them to basic life? Explain how our cycles work
Hmm.
and then the shifts we can expect to support pregnancy,
Hmm.
and then again what happens postpartum, and then lastly after nursing. Each one of those 4 stages, please.
So, when you are cycling, you want to think about the fluctuation of hormones per phase. So, like, when you're in your period, hormones are at their lowest. And then when you head into your follicular phase, your body's gearing up for ovulation. This is when hormones are rising. Okay. So, estrogen's going to be rising, testosterone's going to be rising. And then when you do ovulate, when that follicle releases the egg, you get an LH surge, which is the luteinizing hormone. Everything peaks. So, like, estrogen's peaked, testosterone's peaked. We get that surge. Your follicle releases the egg, and then estrogen should come down. I say should, as if people have a lot of estrogen issues, it doesn't necessarily always do that. But testosterone comes down, and now this is the phase of progesterone. Okay, so progesterone rises during this time. And if you want to think about your cycle in two big pictures, prior to ovulation is like the Beyonce energy, where estrogen makes everybody like everybody more. It
Mm-hmm.
gives you that creativity, it gives you the energy, it makes you push harder at the workouts, all of those things. And then when you are in that luteal phase and progesterone is higher, it's more of the like keep calm, carry on, like mini nesting, all of those types of phases.
Cool.
And that's like a snapshot of like your hormones. So they're different phase to phase. And then when you're pregnant, it's kind of like a hormone high. I mean, estriol is high, progesterone should be high, and they stay up there. And then when you are in postpartum, it's like you drop off a hormone cliff. Like that's kind of what happens. Someone described it as like you come off of 100 birth controls. And it's kind of like that. It literally, you come off a cliff. And if you are breastfeeding, prolactin is your dominant hormone and it suppresses your progesterone. And so a lot of times, like if you do get your cycle back while you are still breastfeeding, you may still have a lot of symptoms of low progesterone because of prolactin. So that's why sometimes you do have heavier periods. You may be a little bit more anxious and things like that. Maybe you have a short luteal phase due to the fact that you are still nursing. So that's kind of like a very abbreviated version, but at least you can get an idea of the ebb and flow.
Yeah, so helpful. I think once a woman, and specifically a mom, understands that, I think that you can take so much of the pressure off yourself, because instead of like, why am I super anxious right now? What's wrong with me? It's like, wait a second, I can look at what's upstream of the hormones that could be causing this. And now all of a sudden you have a problem you can solve. Instead of just like, shame, what's wrong with me? Like, stop right here, done. I'm going to wallow in this and feel frustrated, you know, because I'm looking at people on social media and they're crushing it and they're like out of the house by 8 a.m. with 5 kids and they look perfect. Like, no. Instead of that and then getting in that comparison trap and just beating yourself up, you can look at a problem, you can solve it, and there's a track that you can go, you can make some forward motion on. You can do some of Leah's hacks and, you know, suggestions and see how you feel and adjust and start to get better bit by bit. But I really appreciate you explaining that. Okay, do you feel ready for some quick fire questions?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
What is something in your own personal wellness journey that you have resisted for years, but now you swear by?
Okay,
Quick
so
fire, come on.
I know, sorry. The thing that took me the longest to switch was actually like personal care products when it comes to non-toxic. That was like the last thing, which I've been doing it for a while now.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I was like, don't take my hair products.
Okay. Oh, well, you heard it here. Swap your products. It makes a big difference.
It does. Yeah.
You work with cycles every day with other women. I want to know, what is something you've learned about womanhood in general that you wish you could tell literally every teenage girl?
Hormones are awesome. But like, you have to just understand them. It's constantly this communication. And I think if we look at hormones as they suck, which is what we hear from our parents, like, ugh, PMS, period, oh, she's hormonal. We walk into everything that can be so beautiful and look at it as a curse. So your hormones are actually your superpower if you learn to work with them.
Love that, especially if you have somebody in your corner like Leah. I already know the answer to this one. Actually, everybody knows the answer to this one. But just to really bring it home, what's your favorite non-food, non-supplement hormone hack that costs nothing and works really well?
Blood sugar balance.
There we go.
Yeah, we have to do it.
I knew you would say that. I knew you would say that. If postpartum women had a nutrient savings account, what is the one thing pregnancy drains the fastest and how can you replenish it?
It's not one, it's a few.
Okay.
So potassium's going to be a really big one because potassium's your stress mineral. And so, of course, that's going to, so like nettle tea, coconut water, avocados, sweet potato, like potassium, make it your full-time job to bring potassium-rich foods in. And then the second one I would say is probably magnesium.
Okay.
Which is also your relaxation mineral too. So
love that. Love that. What is one supplement that you see women wasting money on?
Every like hormone balancing supplement out there and multivitamin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you already said this one too, but what does one ideal first meal of the day look like for hormone stability and especially postpartum?
Protein rich, protein forward. So if you are postpartum, I wouldn't even be hitting the minimum 30 grams of protein. I would be going 40, 50 grams of protein. And so I like eggs. Again, they're naturally rich in choline as well. So pregnancy, postpartum, you're going to be knocking it out of the park there. So you could even prep something like an egg bake that you could have that would be
Oh, love that.
full of like veggies and eggs, and you could do more cottage cheese, some meat, some mushrooms, and grab and go.
Okay, love that. If you could only pick one, so if a busy mom she only has time to prep one nourishing snack for the week, what is it?
I wouldn't even prep it. I would just buy it. It would be meat sticks.
Okay, what, the Paleo Valley ones?
Yes.
Okay,
I
we will
have
link to
those like
those.
all the time.
Got it. What is one small digestion hack other than probiotics that makes a huge difference for bloating and postpartum gut recovery?
Bitters. So
Okay,
I actually wouldn't even look at probiotics. So that's a conversation for another day, but bitters, because bitters are going to get your stomach acid moving.
got it. What is one overlooked lifestyle factor that absolutely tanks progesterone?
Managing your stress. So I hear this time moms go, I'm stressed. I can't not be stressed because I'm a mom. And you underestimate what 3 minutes of sitting in silence will do for you.
That is good. That is really good. Okay, let's manage our stress. That's a tough one, but I agree with you. I think it's easier said than done. What is one thing you would tell a pregnant woman to start doing right now so the postpartum recovery is 10 times easier later?
I would prep meals, like freezer meals that are nourishing and just you can grab. I prepped a lot of snacks. You can prep egg bites. You can prep protein waffles, um, and dinners, like lots of like stew, soupy types of things. I have the most wonderful friend who literally prepped like 12 meals for me.
Oh, wow.
And it was like chilies and chicken pot pie filling, which, like, I know that sounds weird, but chicken pot pie filling, literally, you just put over some potatoes or something and grab
Yeah,
and it's an easy to digest one. And she was, God bless her, literally.
that's beautiful. And then also, we can take this as a reminder to repeat that favor and do that for the moms around us. What is one nutrient shift that gives the fastest energy improvement postpartum if you're talking to a mom who's running on 4 hours of sleep? But it can't be balancing blood sugar.
It's going to be adrenal support. So you could bring
Okay.
in an adrenal cocktail. If you're looking for like supplement form, because for some people, like even grabbing an adrenal cocktail is like too much. I like anything with milky oats. Milky oats is something that's really great for the sleep deprived mom. Sub Luna is my go to for tinctures. She has a tincture called Milky Oats, or you can even she has a tincture called Adrenal RX, which is a blend of things that support the adrenals, including Milky Oats. But I
Cool.
would say I would make an adrenal cocktail if that just seems like too far out of capacity. I would do a Milky Oats tincture.
Love that. Okay, now 3 quick questions that are about YOU and mom life.
Okay.
I want to ask, what is one way your ambition has changed since becoming a mom of 3?
So when I became a mom of 3, I had even less time. Imagine that. But I also felt like it was a shift change with everything that I was doing and with my kiddos. And
Mm,
so I think it's really cool to show the possibility of what you can do with kids. I think sometimes we go, I want to build this for helping women or whatever reason, but
mhm.
I think it's really cool to also like show your kids what's possible.
Oh, I love
Because I
that.
don't know what they're going to do in their careers and in their lives, but they have so many options, you know?
Mhm.
They have so many things that they can do and I want them to dream big, open that up, and I think that's opening up possibility for them.
I love that. More is caught than taught when you're,
Yes.
modeling that. What is something that you had to let go of in order to be both a present mom and a thriving business owner?
So many things. Um I never would call myself a perfectionist. I do a lot of things like really messy, just get it done. But something I really had to let go of is everybody following my timeline.
Hmm.
So I would go in to answer an email or something that is somebody else's job, and I'd be like, I'm just gonna answer it because you aren't being fast enough. And now it's their job. So something I had to let go of, I guess, was micromanaging, but something I had to step into was being a better leader. really helping more people rise up to what they need to do versus me just being, you aren't doing it fast enough or you're not doing it the way I want it to, so I'm going to do it.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. Hard, but good. When your kids were babies, obviously one of them still is, but when they were all babies, what was one of your non-negotiable self-care habits that just really kept you sane and hormonally regulated?
Silence. I really, really push back on silence. I don't know if I was scared of sitting with my own thoughts, but sitting in silence, it's not like legs up a wall. It's not taking a supplement. It's not a bubble bath. It's silence. Like
Yeah.
finding 3 minutes of silence or silence wherever I can made a really big deal.
That is so good. Well, hey guys. Leah, thank you so much for your time on today. I'm so grateful. I took away more habits and tricks and hacks and wisdom than you know, and I know everybody else will. So thank you for your time, especially because I know it's really hard to come by.
Oh, you are very welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to Motherhood Equipped. Remember, you don't have to have it all together. You just have to be willing to bet on yourself and then trust the Lord every step of the way, walking boldly in the purpose He has for you. I remember very vividly searching for my first podcast related to motherhood when I was in the depths of postpartum after having my first, and I would have never found the encouragement I needed had the podcast I found not had enough reviews to show up in my feed when I searched. So I'd love to ask if you would pass this gift along to another mom needing encouragement and leave us a review so that we show up in other people's feeds, and also just share this with one friend who comes to mind. Thanks so much.